Hello. What am I talking about today? The male lead? I don't want him. Ugh. Um, if you haven't seen my videos before, I'm going to give you a general rating off the bat, and then I'm going to go into why I gave you that rating. If you don't care about why I gave you that rating, then screw you. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about it, okay? I know you're, already lost, and, of course, this title is so unclear. But yeah, okay. Let's get into it. Okay. General rating off the bat, 7. It's all right. Fine. I don't hate it. I think the idea is kind of fun, I guess, but I don't necessarily think that my enjoyment was super high because it's kind of like half the cast is annoying just by the very nature of I don't want him. It's pretty obvious that half the cast is not going to be that fun. Basically, what this story boils down to is you have two loony bins, basically the original heroine and the original male lead. Both of them are nuts. They irrationally believe that people should love them. They think that, the heroine hates this girl because she thinks that she's taking away the male lead's heart. And the male lead just thinks that this girl is like his best friend and that he owns her, basically. It's one of those like obsessive things that you see a lot. Yeah, it just kind of like it's like the main bulk of the cast is bound to not be fun to talk about, to listen to read. They're bound to be annoying characters, and they serve that purpose as being annoying. You could say in a way that's well written, but if you're good at writing annoying characters, I don't necessarily know if that's going to help you that much. You kind of need somebody to be interesting, and frankly speaking, the personality of most of the characters in this series is I don't like the male lead. It's mainly this guy is not a good person. It's like, wow, okay, this is a riveting topic. I don't feel like going up and getting like a picture of these characters because they're super generic, so I'm just going to make generic character 1 and blonde generic character. So, we're going to say this is Mr. Male Lead, so the guy that no one wants, and this will be new male lead. New male lead. What's the gist? What's new male lead versus old male lead? Well, old male lead thinks that she's an object. So it's a little screwed up. Super possessive, thinks that, she's his. And does a lot of things that, are pretty bad. From a crazy person standpoint. This guy, I would say, is trying to, I don't know, these two kind of form a connection, like, right off the bat, and it's a little bit like, it just kind of happens, and you're like, I mean, okay, I guess, yeah, sure, whatever, you can just love at first sight this, but it does feel a little like, I mean, okay, why are these, I didn't expect this, so I don't really know why, like, they don't really seem to have, like, a super big bond. Their bond is that they don't like this guy. That is the main connection between the two main characters in this series. And it's just kind of like, okay, if you want to just make basic connections with almost no foundation, then that's fine. But the bulk of the story just ends up being like them kind of being lovey-dovey, but not at the same time, and then it's just like, when are they going to do it? They're going to get together, but when? Oh, and it's like, is that's it? That's all we're doing? The only other like major plot points, I guess, would be like this guy trying to get her back, her like fighting him off to get rid of him because she doesn't want to be involved with him anymore, and it's just like, the generic, like, we're going to fight and get rid of you. Blah, 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 right? Nothing special. Just the basic thing over and over again of just, we're going to fight, we're going to get rid of you, blah, blah, blah. there's not really any like fantasy abilities in this series, so it ends up just being like court cases, which is like, I mean, okay, I guess we're like watching like we're reading like an Ace Attorney story, basically, just longer running. Yeah, and it's just kind of like, okay. Overall, like that, all that stuff is just kind of mid. There's also, let's say, there's this other character, you know, another hero, like the original heroine, right? Like, we'll just give her like luscious, long, flowing locks. She shows up and she's all, you know, I just hate this other girl. She's like a piece of shit that's taking my man. And you know, it's like, okay, that's fine, but then she ends up being like delusional and she can't see past like any of this girl's like, you know, like advances and saying like, hey, I don't like that guy, he's a terrible person, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, you can't see any of this and you're not willing to even acknowledge it. It's like, I mean, okay. And then like basically everybody's like putting a target on this girl. And they're saying, like, she's evil! She does all these villainous things! She's just trying to take that other girl's man! And it's like, I get that rumors would spread, but, like, she doesn't do anything, so, like, you would think if she goes to a party and nothing happens, and then the next day someone's like, she killed somebody! It's like, well, you'd think some people would be like, I don't know about that. I don't know if it just like a rumor would spread and then boom, everybody would believe it. I mean, maybe like if you weren't there, but if there's like 100 people and no one else saw it, it's like, well, why are these spreading and just like fact in people's minds? I don't know. The whole it is an isekai. I don't know if I mentioned that, but the whole isekai thing is irrelevant. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I hate isekais like this. All it is a plot device to get like, oh, I need money, isekai, and then it just solves her problem, and it's like, okay, well, that's cool, I guess. But half the time, she barely even acts like she's in an isekai. Like, if you were in a legitimate situation like her, and some of these people said what they say to her, I would tell them, like, no, I don't do that, you're making shit up, and blah, 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 right? And it's like, oh, is the idea that, like, you know, she's too afraid to say anything. Well, like, no, she'll say other things. She just won't say what would make sense. So it's, like, constantly just a frustrating, like, loop of, like, her basically saying nothing. They don't, you know, take anything in, and then they move on. And then they come back. You know, she tries to convince them. They don't believe her. Move on. And it's just like, oh, my God, can we just, you know, have some other idea happening here than just this repeatedly? Over and over and over and over again. It's like, just try something else. Just try it. One time. Just try it. You don't have to even succeed. Just try. Yeah, and it's just kind of like, this is boring. I think the idea is kind of fun. Like, the male lead is like super obsessed and like causing all these problems because he's so obsessed with the female, like, character in the series. But I feel like it all, like, they say she's a villain and it's like, well, why would that even happen? Like, and like no one notices this male lead doing all these bad things. And the worst part is they have like this original story that shows up, and like in this original story, you know, you see like all these things. It's like, oh, she's bad and like dies, and you're like, well, why would that happen? And then like you know, the new male lead, Blondie boy, he dies, and you're like, how? Like, this guy, like, punches another character, like, directly, you know, in the stomach and, like, knocks him out. It's like, what do you mean? Like, this guy died? How? And, like, the old male lead fights him and loses, like, brutally, so I don't even know how that happens. The only thing I can think of is there's some plot point that they're going to bring up later on that they just haven't yet, and that's going to make everything make sense, but I don't know when it's going to happen. I think I'll just end with the whole SAE. What is the SAE? It's story, art, enjoyment. Story-wise, I think I've done this before, but I think there's a bit of idea going on here, and then the actual application of the idea. So idea probably like an 8. It's a pretty good idea. I like the idea. Application like, I mean, like probably a 6. Art I would say is above average. It's pretty solid, so I'll give it like a 7. Enjoyment, that's hit or miss as well. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe a 7. It's a fun-ish read at times, but it's kind of like annoying when you think about what's going on and you like take the time to actually like analyze what they're doing, and you're like, why are you doing that? Like, it's just not right. Overall, I would say it probably leans somewhere around a 7. It's fine. I wouldn't, I'm not going to be upset reading this, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like, I'm not going to say like, hey, this is what you should read. It's just all right. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. If you, I don't know, if you leave another series down below, I might review it. That would be pretty cool. I don't care if I've read it before. I'll read it again. That'd be fine. Yeah. I'll see ya.